without the green lightning and the electroculture, this stuff would be covered in powdery mildew. It would be getting blossom end rot on all the flowers and not really making squash anymore. And now they're still making multiple fruits a day. I truly think the kale and the peas and the squash are pretty much direct results of adding green lightning. Those have been green lightning before and during growth.
Is it typical you'd have sweet corn that tall right now?
That's taller than usual by far, by probably about a foot, but it looks like there's a lot of ears. The green lightning has shown out on the corn.
Yep.
Not just the ears, but just the vitality, the robustness, the resistance to wind.
Oh,
These are things that I feel like get missed.
All right, we are on the Kentucky-Tennessee border, north of Nashville and south of Lexington, and we are going to go meet with Chris.
How y'all doing?
Chris is Chris Winters. We also call him Hippie Chris.
Tracy's my wife. I'm Chris.
Is one of the smartest organic and biological farmers, but he's also an electroculture farmer. He grows some of the best food on the planet. He's been doing it for a very long time. Good friend of ours, uses our green lighting technology, and we are about to go in the boonies where he lives on this crazy road and go see his amazing farm and talk about food like most people have never tried before. The kind of food that you want to eat.
Howdy.
What's up, brother?
Welcome.
How you doing?
Good. How y'all doing?
He's getting a video of you.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Do you guys want to drive this down? Do you want to hop in with me? I mean, this is obviously a beast, so.
All right, so we come on, Zane, get in here. You got your green lighting. Like, what?
Zane?
Come in here and represent.
Yeah.
All right, we are now at, what is your farm name?
My farm is White Squirrel Farm in Bethpage, Tennessee.
All right.
My wife and I, Tracy's my wife, I'm Chris. Here with Travis today to look around a little bit, talk about some of the technologies we use and the way we grow.
Yeah. So you've not used any chemicals on this farm since you started. How long ago?
We have been here 15 years. It's our 14th season. Definitely no chemicals. And before we were here, it was kind of a fallow farm, probably not farmed for quite some time. But yeah, our goal here was to make this place a sanctuary of vitality from the very beginning. And it's changed quite a bit over the years, of course, is how we go about doing that. But yes, Zero chemicals, very little inputs. We do all raw rock minerals and vegetable waste compost as inputs.
Okay.
And lots of energetic applications, and of course, green lightning.
Yeah. And then your energetic stuff is part of your fertile current.
Yes, the fertile current.
So
yes.
talk a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah. So the fertile current has been birthed out of my experience farming and also my interest in both medicine and energetics in general, and has led to the point where now those are coalesced into the fertile current, which is electroculture and beyond. So we're using the atmospheric charge and the earthly charge to provide a power source for all the natural mechanisms that are already happening. We're not creating anything new, we're simply harnessing and mimicking how nature does it.
So you call it heaven and earth.
Heaven and earth. That's based on my medical qigong training.
Yeah.
So yes, we call those heaven and earth. You can call those yang and yin, male and female, positive and negative. There's lots of ways, there's lots of different vernaculars for these one force that has two phases.
But the goal at the end of the day is to grow more healthy food for people all over the world.
Nutrient dense food,
Yep.
grown without detriment,
Yep.
you know, doing no harm,
Yep.
looking at it like medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like our goal is to eventually, our technologies to be able to feed 25 billion people in the next 100 years, right?
Yeah.
Yours is along the same lines, and you're doing it right here in this small community, right on the Kentucky-Tennessee border.
Yes.
You've been selling to restaurants for how long?
Primarily. 14 years.
All
And
right.
a CSA group for about the same amount of time.
Yep. So what do you think your impact is in general? Like how many people do you feed? You thought about that much?
How many I have the potential to feed is more dependent on the receptivity of the community.
Yeah.
Honestly, which I hate to say, we could feed more than we do based upon people's receptiveness of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And also logistics sometimes. We're a very small operation. And we're looking to diversify how we can serve, because we realize, okay, we can feed, I'd say at max, we were serving like 6 restaurants and very busy restaurants. Hard for me to calculate how much business they were doing, but hundreds a night.
Yeah.
And also a CSA of, we would max out our CSA. I think our busiest one was around 30 members or so.
Yeah.
So you put in, and those are families,
Yeah.
so you put that all into perspective. It was quite a few. It can be more. but now we see that almost like just like you.
So maybe hundreds
yeah, hundreds
of
Yeah.
people living off your food throughout the year.
Sure.
Yeah,
Or
on a
over
base
the
level.
years, thousands.
And
but
how
yeah.
much how much ground do you have here?
We have, close to 30 acres. Only grow on less than 2.
So on 2 acres, you're feeding hundreds of people.
Oh, for sure, easily.
Yeah.
I mean, I jokingly refer to it as violent abundance. You'll see my walk-in cooler,
Yeah.
and it's not even maxed out. But it's, like I said, it's more about, honestly, finding receptive markets to, work with you and receive the food.
Yeah.
Even on a donation level, it's hard to donate fresh produce.
Man, that's crazy.
It's wild.
Yep.
So as much as you, just like yourself now, so I feel like along with still farming, which is very crucial to understanding all these things we're doing, is actually being on the ground,
Yeah.
doing these things every day.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you kind of are just like, you might know about it, but you don't know it,
Yeah.
and that's different. We now also share our technologies, just like Green
Yeah.
Lightning and the Fertile Current, to try to now with the Fertile Current, I've reached thousands more who now can take these technologies either through me or through their own innovation and utilize them.
Now, are you certified organic or no?
No,
Okay.
on purpose.
Yeah, on purpose.
Yeah.
But you consider yourself biodynamic,
So
quantum agriculture.
Yeah.
You got some fun names.
I use the term hyperdynamic agriculture, which is
Okay.
what I use because I don't like to be pigeonholed.
Yeah.
I don't follow any one agricultural dogma to a T.
Yeah.
But we do preparations, barrel preparations. I take what I feel are the best of all worlds and coalesce them harmoniously. And that just comes from doing it over years and finding what you like and also
Yeah.
what works for the crops you grow and your other dynamic parts of your life,
Yep. But in
So-
general, you don't use any sides. Pesticides.
No,
herbicides,
for sure. Definitely
fungicides.
not. And that's why to even get certified would be futile.
Yeah, I mean you're small.
Yeah.
It takes extra until you get that. You're kind of a square foot farmer. Like you're
Yeah,
using
that
every
term.
square foot
Yeah,
of ground,
yeah.
right?
Yes, mostly.
But in general, you're a nutrition farmer.
Yeah, well, high density, high nutrition density, and that goes both ways. That means for the plants,
Yeah.
and then in turn for us through the plant nutrition.
Yeah.
And we're not maxing out space as much as we used to, like
Yeah.
as much as like a square foot model,
Yeah.
because we have a little bit more space than that.
Yep.
And we find that spacing, growing less with more space between them can and does yield more.
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with, you're getting into the energetics, you're getting into soil with really high vitality, increasing the CEC through our products.
So speaking of that, we'll get into the CEC in a little
Sure,
bit. But
sure.
in general, CEC means.
Cation exchange capacitance rate.
Yep. So and what does that do?
Well, that's the rate at which the topsoil is like a conductive medium, at which it exchanges atmospheric positive ions, positively charged ions, with the earthly anions, the negatively charged ions, and
Yep.
that exchange creates an energy. That potential difference creates an energy. In electrical science, they call it voltage.
Yep.
This potential difference is really expressed through light.
Yep.
And then we measure it through electricity, and then we measure the residues of electricity through chemistry.
And then at the end of the day, you have higher yields that are more nutritious to feed more people.
The pragmatic side of it is
Yeah.
higher yields, faster rates of growth, and to a farmer that just means you're outgrowing weeds.
Yeah.
It's not about everything being faster or bigger, more flowering sites, less things like blossom end rot I don't deal with virtually at all anymore, vastly reduced pest pressure because you're not accumulating ammonias, you're fixing nitrogens.
Now, I've heard that this area has the most bugs than anywhere else in the country.
Yeah.
How
It's
are
crazy.
you able to grow crops here without your bugs eating
I'm
them?
telling you, we used to lose so much to pests because we didn't spray, because we didn't. And I'm not saying we don't have pests still a little bit, but we don't lose. And I will tell you, it happened when we did two things. When we set up electroculture systems,
Yep.
applied paramagnetic minerals to our compost before spreading it. Those two things are basically doing the same thing, one on a more vectorized level than the other, one on a more broad level.
Yeah.
And products now like Green Lightning in the mix, spraying this,
Yep.
we're doing the same thing. We're creating energy, which then can be, we're creating light, which then creates this currency, they call it ATP.
Yep.
That's carrying that energy to the cells. They can repair,
Yep.
they can fight disease. They don't become targets for pests because they're not emitting the
That's it.
stress light signals.
Tom Dykstra said that.
Yeah.
That testing the bricks, the higher the bricks level, the less pests you're going to get.
Right.
And, so over 11 and over 14, no fungus, no bugs.
And that's, yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they're not there. They're just they have a different job to do, right?
They have like a homeostasis. They have a level at which their presence is part of our ecosystem, whether it was originally so or not. They are going to become part of our ecosystem. There's a balance.
Yeah.
It's just all about when you tip that scale into detriment,
Yeah.
it becomes noticeable.
Yeah.
And it becomes unprofitable for a working farm.
So we have we're doing some work in Africa. We have massive farms, like 2 million acre farmers, and then we have the 1/16 of an acre farmers in Africa that are feeding their families on these crops and everywhere in between. And it's really amazing to see. It works the same way.
Yes.
On massive farms or small farms. There's benefits and detriments to both. But we're going to walk into your greenhouse right now. It's obviously warm.
Yeah.
So these are
aroma, like a sauce
those
tomato.
are big Romas.
Yeah, they're very large.
You brought me some tomatoes to our place. We put some in, and we put some in a wet area, and they didn't grow at all. There was too wet. You said that.
Yeah.
Then we put it in an area where we did the compost, and we put them in, and they blew up. And we picked tomatoes this morning. They were twice the bricks of the normal ones,
Yeah.
and we were pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
But they're already huge. And they're just starting.
Yeah,
I know. They're going to be so tall. Like
this is really just starting.
So
this is until October.
So this is not even 4th of July yet, and we're at 6 foot tall.
Yeah,
right?
and those are the cherries over there, which are going to be taller.
So you've got.
And these are indeterminate varieties.
So talk a little bit about indeterminate. What does that mean?
That just means the height is indeterminate. Like it's not going to make a bush.
So basically, it can grow. To the
Yeah,
ceiling.
if I wanted, what'll happen is by the end of the season, we have these at this height because it's manageable, and they'll grow up higher.
Yep.
And then what'll happen is they'll actually come back down, and by the time we take them out, they'll have been coming back up.
Oh,
so
okay.
they're, if we wanted to do the style where we string them up to the rafters, we could do that.
Okay.
But that harvesting labor is not something we've ever wanted to get into, being just the two of us, and So we do learning to grow for your market is such a skill of its own.
Yeah.
Because you can be like the best grower, but if you're overproducing,
then it's a waste too.
it's a waste of resources, energies. So these are all heirloom
So
varieties.
that's a fat tomato. What kind is that one?
This is a pineapple, I believe.
So let's check out your other greenhouses over here. Tell us about your electriculture system.
Yeah, this is a traditional installation system utilizing an antenna up there around 25 feet.
Okay.
And then that is connected via insulated wire down to this point where it's coupled to bare wire that then traverses south to north in the soil about 15, 16 inches deep.
Now what's up with this stone right here?
This is a crystal oscillator.
Okay.
So just
is that
like
quartz?
Yes, this is like a Lemurian quartz, and it's in the same line here.
Yep.
And it just stabilizes frequency. It's just an addition to the system.
Okay.
Almost every piece of electronics has a crystal oscillator.
So you're adding good vibes to your
Good
crops.
vibes and stability, which adds to the coherence of the whole system.
Yeah. So talk a second. I know it's sweaty and hot out here, but
No.
so that apparatus which you've created and you have a company around
Yes.
brings what? What does it do?
Collects the positive phase that we spoke about, the cations.
Yep.
So it collects them and it generates them through different dynamic sources. And I have one down low mounted to show you guys, and we can go through all the mechanisms really clearly.
Yeah.
But we're using the potential difference between atmospheric and earthly charge. We're using the dissimilar metals at different temperatures, known as the Seebeck effect. We're using electrochemical exchange in a voltaic stack. We're using the harnessing of positive ions via paramagnetism with the core filling. And then we're collecting atmospheric charge and we're fluxing potentials with the ultimate distal point, which is the ultimate deep ground at the furthest northern point in the ground line, which you cannot see because it's in the ground.
Does that connect to that one? Or is that something
No,
different?
that's a barrel compost system with an antenna.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it terminates right at the path basically.
Okay.
And I have in my main garden, we can look at bigger systems, but yes, it's traversing south to north.
Yep.
Those potentials flux, induction, electromagnetic induction occurs around that conductor and into
Yep.
the soil.
Wow.
And that
Awesome.
voltage or potential difference energy catalyzes
What do you think
soil actions.
What do you think your biggest benefit is to your electroculture? I mean,
From my perspective as a vegetable grower,
Yeah.
it's going to be pest pressure reduction and lack of loss. So lack of disease, lack of bacterial infection, and some of those are overlapping. It's all overlapping
so you have
because
a higher net
oh, for sure,
because you're not throwing away so much.
way less in and way less loss, and
So
that equals higher yield.
Less seeds, more food.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Less and also less work because every seed is a plant started in the propagation house with potting soil and then transplanted, or a seed that you direct seed and
Yeah.
take time. It's all
That's
labor.
all it costs.
Yeah, it's
it
all
doesn't
a
matter
cost.
if you're on millions of acres, thousands of acres, or a quarter acre. It's all it's a cost
when,
of doing
when
business.
something's truly beneficial, the more you scale it up, the more benefit you actually, it's exponential.
Yeah.
Because like with these systems, you can run those south to north lines infinite distances.
Yep.
And then you can space them out east to west
Yep.
to cover your space. But if you have a long south to north field, I mean, you can go so long on one antenna that it's
So talk about this antenna. Speaking of.
okay. So this is a legacy device that I did not invent. It's really developed by first Thomas Galen Hieronymus, and then later Hugh Lovell modified it to be a double chamber. But I did make this and put this on. I made the whole thing, but I put one of my antennas on top.
So you can see that a lot closer. Talk about what it is. Like
yeah, sure.
It looks like you got some magnets. You got
Yep.
different metals.
Yep.
So
the interchanging metals are the electrochemical exchange. There's zinc and copper, and when they contact each other, especially when there's electrolytes present, so when it rains and the conductive nature of water, they exchange ions and create a little bit of voltage. Then you have a thermocouple used in appliances. When the temperature goes up or down, those dissimilar metals arc and create a little bit of voltage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's wired internally directly to the line that powers this potential difference.
Okay.
This is actually like an 11-foot tall apparatus, and it's several feet in the ground, and
Yep.
at the bottom of it is a copper plate just like this one on top, and that's going to be your anode,
Okay.
with that being the cathode. And it's these are circuited. So
Yeah,
each of
so
these
you're not
have,
plugging this into anything. No electricity.
no, now you can.
Okay.
You can put a solar panel on these. You just need low voltage power source, and
And
really
it'll
the
increase
more,
it?
the more
Oh,
you,
okay.
because it is a radio circuited device.
Yeah.
This is the upper coil, broadcasting coil, and the lower broadcasting coil is in the soil.
Okay.
So you're broadcasting one set of patterns into the soil and a different set of patterns into the atmosphere, and you choose the patterns by what you put here in these wells, which are coiled and circuited.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
typically, like we'll use some biodynamics principles and broadcast silica patterns to the atmosphere, gypsum patterns to the earth,
Wow.
and so forth. They're so powerful, in fact, that you have
That's
to.
not a normal farmer deal.
No, but it is. It is. It's not the furthest thing out there. There are farmers all over the world who do use these,
Yeah.
and through the
It was the principle started like the 30s with Steiner, right?
well,
Or no?
well, with this particular apparatus, it was Thomas Galen Hieronymus, who was a radio operator during World War II,
Oh, okay.
and then also grew up doing farming. But then after the war, continued farming in Georgia, and used his knowledge of radio to develop instruments for agriculture.
So a lot of people think this is kook science,
Sure, sure.
and they're like, if I can't see it, how do I know it works? But these things do the same thing.
Sure, yeah.
So talk about that a little bit.
Well, a lot of times people, will even tell me when I'm trying to, this is far more quantum, if you will, than the electroculture systems are very straightforward.
Yeah.
So these are very different to me, but also overlapping in how we use them.
Yeah.
And people will
Different
often,
tools.
tell me, well, that's just over my head or something, almost to just digress or even underestimate their own intelligence, really.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's an identity crisis thing because they intuitively understand it or they know it's a real thing,
Yeah.
but they can't wrap their head around it, or it would cause questions to be placed on other aspects and it would just cause a crumbling.
Yeah.
of
If
the-
it wasn't in the book, they can't really. Get
But
that
I
back.
always just say it's okay if it's over your head as long as it's under your heart, because
Yeah.
we use things like our cell phones. I mean, most people can't build a basic carbureted motor.
Yeah.
And that's old technology. And
Yeah.
you go use cars and phones and,
Yeah.
even fertilizers. Most people can't actually tell you how they break down, become available by enzymes.
So speaking of that, a lot of guys have a hard time wrapping their heads around how our stuff using the air and water and electricity could possibly make the plants grow. But what is fertilizer in general? Even the chemical stuff.
Elements.
It's
I mean,
elements, and isn't it using an energy force to make the plant grow to create energy? How's that work?
Well, we have what, like referring to the cation exchange again. That's always happening without any interference from us, right?
In the woods, it's amazing. Right?
Yes, and and that's to do with these tree antennas. Yeah. But we're out here, you know, growing stuff, and we are just trying to increase that exchange, and that's the power source.
Yeah.
It's like we can have the most beautifully built machine or beautifully built gardens,
yep.
but without adequate power source, you know, it's not going to do as well.
So what happens if you've got a farm that's basically like you've been doing the same chemicals and the same fertilizer for the past 80 years, or let's just say 60?
Mm.
What's their power source versus one that's got all the bells and whistles on it?
It's just like a plant. It's lockout. It's like lockout, and lockout happens on all levels. Lockout happens on an elemental level. It can be a reaction to too much or too little of something, like an allergy almost.
Yeah.
It becomes non-receptive, and without the ability to flow electrically or electromagnetically, it's not going to catalyze the transformation
so that
of
goes
minerals
back,
into their next phase.
The human side. So you do help out with humans with trying to get their energy flow through their body. What's the difference between the ground and the body?
Well, besides just literally expression of this mechanism, as far as how they work, soil and body, soul and soil, you know, to be corny about it, are very synonymous and ubiquitous. Yeah. We both are basically conduits for this difference of potential between heaven and earth, between positive and negative. And in a human body, they can have lockout. We would treat the spleen because we know that's centered there, and we would call that lack of divine trust, like kind of a divine lockout of the spirit. Mm-hmm. You have to receive something to get it. Yeah. Like you're part of that getting through receiving.
Yeah, we've been testing, you know, how does mycorrhizal fungi get affected by our plasma activated water? I want to call it that because that's what it is, but a lot of people think of it's blood. It's not. But the bacteria, I mean, there is plasma.
No, of course, yeah.
But I don't want to freak people out. But anyways, the bacteria, the good bacteria, grow significantly faster with plasma energy, and so does the fungi.
Yep.
And when you do that, the crops are doing amazing things.
Yep.
And by weight, it doesn't weigh the same as the chemical stuff, but it's working the same. Not on every farm, but most. And some are substantially more. And I think it's a receiving thing. It's also if the regenerative guys are seeing quicker results than the chemical guys.
With increasing photosynthesis.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Which allows more light energy to be captured in glucose.
Yep.
Which then allows more availability energy for the ATP to carry it to the cells.
Yep.
So it's a chain reaction of benevolence.
So ATP is?
Andesine triphosphate,
yep.
I believe is correct. But it's an energetic currency for cells. So it's basically like a carrier or a courier of energy from like the main capacitated source. So in a plant, the sugars, which has sunlight energy trapped into it, which again is this energy via the sun.
Yep.
That's that positive phase energy. It carries it to cells, so the cells can be energized, repair themselves, you know, carry out their functions.
So if you have a low ATP, if you're a human, what happens?
Low vitality. Organs don't work properly, and that's going to come down to, you know, like in Chinese medicine.
Your brain's an organ.
Sure, and
so it
like
slows you down your brain too, right?
Well, it's also related.
Yeah.
Everything is related.
Yeah.
And everything's going to be affected, and you might have one point that expresses that effect more than others because maybe that's the area where you hold the most either damage through lifestyle or traumatic vibration.
Yeah.
In Chinese medicine, you know, like a fear vibration is in the kidneys, a grief is in the lungs, and so forth.
Oh, okay.
Fear and depression in the liver.
Yeah.
So we might say, oh, someone had a loss like of this type or another, and we might be able to see where that energy is stuck, just physically. It's like a circuit.
Right, people are like,
they're resistors.
That's like a gut hit, and then you're like, yeah, it is.
The organs are resistors.
Yeah.
And they need to collect a certain charge and pass it on.
That's crazy.
And we tune that, and that, you know, that's.
Yeah. There's also seasonalities and different things that affect that.
Sure.
So let's get into what you're growing.
Well,
here.
yeah, these guys, you know, most of this stuff is on its way out. To be completely honest, these
that's
beans are on their way out. Squash is at its end. We have new rounds. That's the main.
So what do we got here? Zucchini?
Summer squash, yeah, zucchinis, yellow squashes, but they are massive, and they've been yielding like crazy.
So
we have new rounds is the only reason we're gonna take it out, because it's like, well, we will have just way too much squash. And,
yeah.
we have celeriac and celery over here.
I love celeriac.
Yeah, this is about to be ready.
We talk about helping your organs.
Yes,
it's
yes.
amazing for what celeriac does.
Yep.
So so a little green lightning effect. You put it on all this?
Oh man, the squash. So this squash isn't usually like this big, man. I've been growing these same varieties
the leaves of these things,
for
man.
eons.
And they're still blossoming.
Oh no, they're gonna keep producing. I'm just taking them out because I have too much. I have more rounds, new rounds.
That's amazing. So why do you think it makes the squash grow so much better?
Well, for all these reasons we're talking about, like usually you have by this point, especially in a tunnel, in this hot of weather, this stuff would be covered. I mean, without the green lightning and the electroculture, this stuff would be covered in powdery mildew. It would be getting blossom end rot on all the flowers and not really making squash anymore. And now they're still making multiple fruits a day.
Now you had told me last week when we were chatting that you had seen something interesting with peas. You said that
yes, those are gone, but yes.
One of your restaurant, let's see if I said this right. One of your restaurants loves doing spring pea soup or something, right?
They use them in many ways, but they do something like that.
But they would buy as much as you can, but you're typically short.
Yeah.
And then, so finish that conversation.
Well, typically they don't persist into the heat.
Yeah.
But because again, peas love to get like pithy, like really kind of airy shells, and that airy shell will want to like mildew or rot. So we were spraying green lightning from the beginning. Honestly, also we planted the peas when it was a little too wet, because we just needed to get them in. And we used green lightning. It seemed to make them take off despite the wetness, which isn't typical.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not gassing it. It's definitely a difference, and we can talk to my wife about it too.
Yeah.
But the peas persisted like probably about a month longer. Ooh. And so I was able to sell them, a month longer.
How much room did you have for those peas?
Where were the peas this year? The peas were in the other greenhouse. I had about 100 feet of peas.
Okay, so 100 feet of peas. How much extra revenue do you think you made off of those?
Oh, I mean, at least $2,000.
$2,000 off 100 foot?
Yeah. Again, this is another example. Like, this is hanging on because it's still producing, especially that Siberian back there.
Holy mackerel.
Usually,
so what kind of kale is this?
This is a lacinato kale, Italian kale.
Yeah.
And usually we've already taken it out and put it to compost.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe even a couple weeks ago.
So why do you think it lasts longer?
Because of I truly think the kale and the peas and the squash are pretty much direct results of adding green lightning to my existing systems.
Green lightning is doing to them?
It's adding energy that's mitigating, or I'll say this, preventing susceptibility to mostly molds and mildews, powdery mildew, downy mildew, and overall just detriment like rot.
So is it because of the nitrogen in it, or is there something different?
There's more than nitrogen. The nitrogen is keeping it nice and green,
and
unlocking the availability, but there's way more to it, and it's this light energy that we're talking about.
Light energy.
It's a photonic energy.
Let's go see that Russian kale. So that is some beautiful kale.
And this heat is almost unheard of.
Yeah.
And it's not a ton. Like we had another variety there that we did take out just because it was like we had too much.
It's like 12 foot by 3 foot.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's
maybe 15.
A lot of weight.
So how much per pound do you make on that stuff? What do you sell for?
We sell this for $12 a pound.
So how many pounds do you think is left in that?
Oh, hundreds. Yeah.
That's a pretty significant deal for.
And it's not done because we'll pick it and it'll regenerate.
Yeah, and nobody else is making it right now.
No, not around here.
So there's also that opportunity for when everybody else isn't doing it.
A niche market, windows.
Yeah, so
and that's important.
Greenhouses help, but usually these are burnt up in a greenhouse.
Actually, they arguably at this moment they might even be doing better if they weren't in here. But we had them in here because we did them so early in spring.
It's amazing.
So we're not only in early spring concerned with temperatures and flash freezes, but also too much moisture and also possible hail.
So these things, I mean, I'm looking at them and I'm not seeing any any bug.
No, that's what I'm
effects.
saying. So every
Like-
leaf is good.
In Tennessee,
Yeah.
at 90 degrees and sweaty,
Yeah.
these things should be bug eaten down to.
It's the back of a leaf. Looks silver.
Ooh, look at that. That is beautiful.
Yeah,
Mm,
no, you would
smells
think
good,
you
too.
would think in this heat, even especially being covered,
Yeah.
that it would be just. That's what I'm saying. That's why they're here. Wow. Typically they'd be gone.
That's amazing. So when did you plant these?
Gosh, I mean, April or March. March.
So when did you start picking them?
We've been selling them since April.
That's
Since at least the end of April.
That's amazing.
Yeah, long windows.
So no pesticides, no chemical
Nope,
fertilizers.
not a single.
No stimulants other than just electroculture,
Electroculture,
green lightning, which
Green
is kind of the
lightning.
same thing.
spraying, green lightning,
Photonic energy through the green lightning and through.
and through electroculture. Yes, I
Yep.
mean, that's why I think when you spray the green lightning and you have the electroculture in the ground,
Yeah.
you're hitting it from top and bottom, you know?
Oh, heaven and earth, boom.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. What else?
So our main gardens are over here.
Okay. How many dollars do you get per pepper on that?
Per pepper, I mean, it ends up being at least several dollars per pepper.
So you can get how many dollars per plant? You think?
If done right, one plant can get you hundreds of dollars, truly.
Whoa.
Here's some burgundy okra, some green okra.
What?
Yeah, these are
Those
some
are
heirloom varieties of
beautiful.
okra. Already, shoot, these
Look
have
at the leaf size on those. Is
Yeah,
that
and these
normal?
are-
I've
yeah.
never seen okra that big.
Well, I have to take them out with a chainsaw.
What?
Yeah, so that's another win.
Man,
Yeah.
this row will make more than 20 acres profit for a normal farmer.
Is that a real metric? I did not fertilize this.
Nothing.
Besides green lightning
Yeah.
and my electroculture systems, I didn't add minerals.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.